Hello, hello. My name is Maja and I am the editor of the IFA. Welcome to the IFA Product Spotlight. So joining me today is a Zenith CEO, David Wright. Welcome to our show, David. How are you doing today?
Well, thanks, Maja. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for taking time in your busy schedule to join us today. So, David, my understanding is that Zenith has obviously been part of the Australian financial services landscape for more than 2 decades, but your offering has evolved, particularly sort of over the past 4 years. Can you tell us a little bit about this offering and what you guys are doing today?
Yeah, I can, Maja. You're right. We've been around for nearly 21 years. Look, the core of the Zenith business remains consistent and the same from the start, really. So that really is the provision of portfolio management, construction, maintenance, reporting services, and quality research, just focusing on those products that we think are going to add value to an advisor's business and their clients. You're right, though, over the last 4 years, there's been a number of transactions that have really expanded the business. The first being the acquisition of Chant West, the superannuation research and consultancy business. So that's been really important for us because, as you know, there's probably not a day goes past that, a client comes into an advisor's business and has a industry or corporate superannuation holding. So for advisors needing to know what to do with that and have some research on that's been really important, as has our acquisition of Heuristic Systems, which was a strategic asset allocation and dynamic asset allocation business, sort of founded and based in market valuation and macroeconomic research. And then, of course, at the end of 2021, our business was fully acquired by the global group, FE Fund Info. So I think may not be overly familiar in the Australian market with the FE Fund Info business, but it brings to us collection and ownership of managed investment data, which, as you know, a lot is spoken about, AI these days, and AI is only as powerful as the data that you have. So kind of ownership of that data really is important for us in providing the reporting, the performance, and the insights that advisors need really to service their clients.
Definitely, David. And you mentioned their managed account portfolios, and you guys do offer a growing range of those. Tell me about this range and your sort of philosophy as an investor behind those.
Yeah, we do, Maja. So there's really two aspects of the managed account business. So we provide public or platform-based managed account portfolios, and there's 3 suites of those. So the first is the Zenith Elite Blends, and that's really your full octane, fully active managed accounts, ranging from conservative through to high growth portfolios. The second range is the Zenith Essentials. Now that's really kind of a core satellite type approach to portfolio construction. It comes in at a kind of cheaper management and overall cost than the fully active Zenith Elite Blends. And the last is really the Zenith Dynamic range of managed account portfolios, where the underlying exposures are passive ETFs, but managed with a dynamic asset allocation overlay. And again, that comes in at a sort of a cheaper price point as well. The other aspect, and at the moment the bigger aspect of the managed accounts business, is customised managed account portfolio solutions. And so this is really for those groups that either have existing managed accounts, often have model portfolios, are moving to a managed account structure. And we work with those groups to provide, portfolio construction and reporting to both the investment committee advisors and their clients, that is customised and bespoke to them. And that makes up about, 75% of the $5 billion in funds under management we have in managed accounts currently.
Wow. And you mentioned advisors there. What are sort of the common things that advisors ask for in relation to the provision of managed accounts?
That's a great question, that one. And by far the most common one is information and reporting for the advisor to provide to their clients. So specifically on portfolio performance, what's going on in the underlying portfolios, what are the kind of look-through exposures to things like Australian and international stocks. You could argue that many investors understand or have knowledge of, your Microsofts and Alphabet and Facebook and, the big companies more so than individual fund managers in international equities. So it's important to sort of surface that information for investors. It makes the discussion for advisors to their clients easier. And of course, with big sort of market events, so the rapid rise in inflation, the failure of the US Silicon Bank always is a catalyst for advisors seeking information to pass on to their clients. So that's by far the kind of most common. Of course, responsible investment in ESG is not just a short-term trend now, is it? It's a kind of longer-term thematic. So we get increasing inquiry about constructing, RI or ESG or even the kind of sustainable portfolios. So they'd be the sort of most common questions we get from advisors at this stage. I must admit, it's probably important to notice the questions we don't get, which advisors should ask. And one of those is really about, how are you as a model manager maintaining the portfolios? So what's the rebalancing discipline? Particularly in times of stress when, markets move around the balance and allocation in portfolios. So I don't think it's until, or in our experience, it isn't until advisors have their clients invested in managed account portfolios that they realise the kind of execution, trading, risk management, risk measurement of those portfolios is kind of critically important. So it's a question, I'd really encourage advisors to be asking when, considering managed accounts for their businesses.
Definitely. And on responsible investment portfolios, how important are they to advisors? Are they important to advisors and your business as well? What does it sort of mean for you?
It's a little bit chicken and egg. So there are some advice practices who've really grabbed this and run with it and have, their whole approach to portfolio construction is kind of founded in ESG and RI principles. Of course, that's quite difficult to do still, where, some asset classes, I kind of use alternatives as an example, is not renowned for its, highly credentialed ESG and responsible investment management and criteria. And then there's others that have an element of the portfolios they offer to clients being of a sort of ESG or responsible investment sort of base. So they sort of have, for want of a better term, traditional and RI ESG. And again, we find with some of those practices, when they explain and offer ESG and RI to clients, a lot of clients will say, yep, okay, I'm happy to invest that way. So having that ability, having that option, I think is, increasingly important.
Yeah, having those discussions, definitely.
Yeah.
And you've been managing money in managed account portfolios since 2016. So those include both bespoke and public menu managed portfolios across a number of different investment platforms. During this time, what would you say you have learned about the value of managed accounts for financial advisors and their clients?
Yeah, geez,
Big
where do
question.
I start? Where do I start? Well, we've learnt a lot. I mean, since that time, which was really when managed accounts and the managed account structure was introduced, the whole industry's evolved a lot
Definitely.
in terms of provision of, kind of managed accounts. I mean, as I said before, kind of first and foremost, and we knew this already, but it's been kind of reiterated with managed accounts, is the communication and reporting aspect that advisors need to service their clients properly with managed account portfolios. The other thing that we've learned is that all of the platforms are different. They're different in a number of different respects. So not the least of which is how they rebalance, execute trades. So you need to be familiar with that process. And, given that we deal with all of the main platforms in that space, we think we're pretty well positioned to, advise groups when they're asking questions about how the different platforms work. And also platform related is the reporting, the compliance, there's annual due diligence, how you work with the responsible entities and the platform governance and risk teams. There's, managed accounts are offered via PDSs. So you need to be across, the documentation and the legalities of the PDS. So these are kind of all things that, again, most advisors wouldn't be aware of until such time as they're involved in managed accounts, and even more so if it's a kind of customised managed account solution that they're after.
And the popularity of managed accounts has really sort of grown, especially over the past 2 years. There's obviously a lot of products in the market at the moment. What is it that makes you guys, Zenith, sort of stand out from the crowd?
Well, you're right, it has evolved, and I think, you talked about sort of back to 2016, and the early movers in that space from an advice perspective were the probably larger and mid-sized independent groups.
Yeah.
Since that time, as you say, the amount of managed account solutions has increased a lot. And I think advisors are comfortable, with the legitimacy of the structure, and have become kind of much more educated on how they work and what it can mean for their business. So it's, I think from our perspective, we think we're pretty uniquely positioned in that, as I said before, we own the data, and that's incredibly important in being able to provide reporting to advisors and their clients. We've got a fully resourced portfolio solutions team. We're backed by, a highly experienced underlying research team, and that's important too. Advisors often have clients that want a bit more information on the underlying investment in the portfolio, so we're able to provide that in sort of client-friendly format, as well as reporting to advisors. As I mentioned before, sort of strategic and dynamic asset allocation capability, and then the superannuation research and reporting that enables advisors to compare and contrast superannuation with managed accounts against other superannuation funds. So it's really a sort of full, comprehensive service that advisors. It's really sort of a one-stop shop.
Full offering.
Full offering, exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, David. It's really been a pleasure to chat to you.
Thanks, Maja. Appreciate the opportunity.
No worries at all. And thank you to our audience. So that was Zenith CEO, David Wright. Thank you for tuning into the IFA product spotlight, and we'll catch you again next time.